The morning light was just beginning to stretch across the quiet town of Hamilton Springs, a modest place tucked between two forgotten highways in upstate New York. It was the kind of town where folks knew each other by the sound of their footsteps, and gossip moved faster than the mail. And right at the corner of Elm and Pine sat the Hamilton Trust Bank's squat red brick building with a flickering neon sign and a coffee machine that hadn't worked properly since the summer of 2012. At exactly 9:03 a.m., the automatic doors hissed open and enrolled a man most folks wouldn't have paid much attention to. His name was Samuel Langston, 63 years old, deep brown skin weathered like old leather, sharp eyes hidden under the brim of a faded Yankees cap, and he moved with the kind of ease that comes from learning long ago not to rush for anybody. His hands rested gently on the wheels of his old titanium chair, and though his jacket looked like it had seen better days, there was something about him that made you stop and think, not because he demanded space, but because he filled it without even trying. He made a slow circle of the lobby. Nothing dramatic, just observing. There were two tellers on duty, a woman at the lone desk fiddling with a stapler, and the faint whir of the HVAC humming in the background. A teenage boy scrolled through his phone next to his mom in the waiting area. The whole place smelled faintly of lemon floor polish and toner ink. Samuel rolled up to the front counter and cleared his throat softly. "Good morning. Could I speak with the branch manager, please?" Behind the counter stood a woman named Lacey Whitmore. She was in her 30s, platinum blonde, sharp red lipstick, and the kind of woman who looked at everyone like they were either wasting her time or about to. She glanced up, barely, then back down to her screen. "Do you have an appointment?" she asked, not looking at him. "No, ma'am, but it won't take long," Samuel replied, voice warm, steady. Lacey sighed loudly, like someone had just asked her to mop the floor with a toothbrush. "Sir, we don't do walk-ins with management. If you're here to make a deposit or have an account issue, you can wait like everyone else." Samuel didn't flinch. "I understand, but I would still appreciate speaking with them." Lacey turned to her colleague and muttered under her breath, just loud enough to be heard. "Bet he's here to cash someone else's check or complain we moved the coffee machine." The teenage boy looked up from his phone. His mom narrowed her eyes. Samuel just blinked slowly, tilted his head not out of surprise, but like he was adjusting an internal lens. "I can wait," he said, calm as still water. Lacey rolled her eyes, grabbed a clipboard, and slapped it down in front of him. "Sign in. Someone might see you in an hour." "Maybe." But Samuel didn't pick up the pen. Instead, he opened a worn leather folder resting on his lap. That's when things started to shift. Eduardo Ramos, a client services rep in his 40s, Latino, soft-spoken, but always watching, stepped out from the hallway. "Is there a problem?" he asked, tone polite but firm. Lacey didn't even look his way. "I've got it, Eduardo." "Miss Whitmore," he said, voice lower, eyes narrowing. "You might want to lower your tone." "I said I've got it," she snapped. Samuel nodded once to Eduardo, just enough to show he noticed. Then he slid a piece of paper onto the counter and tapped it once. "Please hand this to your manager." Lacey looked at it like it was gum on her shoe. "Sir, we don't accept unsolicited paperwork. If this is about a complaint, you can go online or call the hotline." "It's not a complaint," Samuel said evenly. "It's documentation." "I already told you," she raised her voice. "If you're not here to make a transaction, you can wait." From near the coffee machine, a woman in scrubs whispered, "She's talking to him like he's a child." Lacey pushed the paper aside with a painted nail. "If you won't sign in, you need to move." Samuel leaned back in his chair, still calm, then turned to Eduardo. "Would you take a look?" Eduardo walked over, picked up the paper, and froze. Then his eyes widened. He read the bottom line again. "This is from Central Operations," he said. Lacey frowned. "What?" "You should get Mr. Reynolds." Now, Mr. Reynolds, the branch manager, wasn't expecting company that day, especially not from the co-owner of their entire bank group. By the time he stepped into the lobby and saw Samuel, Everything clicked. He extended his hand immediately. "Mr. Langston, I wasn't aware you were visiting today." "That's the idea," Samuel replied. Reynolds glanced at Lacey, then back at Samuel. The tension in the room was thick now, but Lacey still didn't quite grasp what had happened. Not until Samuel asked, softly, "Do you keep video surveillance synced to your internal server?" Reynolds nodded. "Yes, sir. 6-point coverage." "Good. I'd like to review this morning's footage." And that's when Lacey's face changed. The kind of change that comes when the floor you thought was solid starts to crack. They moved to the back office. Brian Reynolds pulled up the video. The whole scene played back Lacey's comments, her tone, her dismissal, the moment she pushed the document away like it was trash. "I don't come here to fire anyone," Samuel said softly. "But I won't be spoken to like a man begging on the street either." Reynolds nodded, jaw tight. "Understood." An hour later, Lacey was asked to hand in her badge and credentials. She didn't argue. Not really. Just mumbled something about not knowing who he was. Samuel didn't even blink. "You meant every word. You just didn't mean to be caught." When he returned to the lobby, the staff were gathered quietly. Samuel addressed them all without standing, but with a presence that needed no height. "I don't wear a suit for these visits," he began, "because I want to see how people treat someone they think can't help them. Today, I wasn't addressed as a man, not even as a client. I was spoken to like I was a problem. And the only thing that changed that was power." He looked at Eduardo. "You didn't raise your voice, but you stood for what was right." To Terrence, the young teller who recorded the incident, he said, "You didn't know what to do, but you knew what you saw mattered. That's enough." And then he said something no one forgot. "The way you treat people when you think they're powerless, that's who you really are." That line stayed with them. Not just that day, not just that week. And when a local high school student walked in later that week and opened his first savings account because he heard about the man in the wheelchair who owned the bank but said nothing until it counted well, that was when the real change began. Because Samuel Langston didn't need applause. He needed integrity. And that day, the bank learned what it really looked like. So now I ask you, if you were behind that counter, what would you have said? Leave a comment below. Let us know. Because stories like this, they aren't just about banks. They're about us. Subscribe for more true life stories that remind us who we are when no one's watching. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's story on Store of Good Stories. If this story touched your heart or made you think, don't forget to hit like and share the video to spread this positive message to more people. And if this is your first time here, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of the meaningful stories we share every week. Your support is the biggest motivation for Store of Good Stories to keep bringing heartfelt and valuable stories to you. See you in the next video.